History remembers Rome as a civilization of marble and glory. But beneath the temples, beneath the triumphs, beneath the armored legions marching in perfect formation, there were men whose ambition carved wounds deeper than any sword. Most Roman generals earned their reputations through victory against distant enemies, foreign tribes, rival empires, barbarian nations. But there was one man whose legend was built on something far more unsettling. A general who didn't rise by defeating Rome's foes, but by eliminating those who trusted him. A general whose victories weren't celebrated for courage, but feared for the method behind them. His name was Gnaeus Pompeius Strabo. And even in Rome, a world shaped by treachery, ambition, and ruthless politics, his story stands apart like a stain the empire could never wash away. This is not the story Rome wanted to remember. This is the story Rome tried to hide, a story built out of silence, shame, and the shattered bones of allies who never saw betrayal coming. Tonight, we lift the stone. Rome kept pressed down for centuries, and what lies beneath is darker than many would ever dare to believe. In a city where loyalty was a luxury, Rome did not create monsters. It attracted them. From the moment Strabo entered public life, he understood what the Roman Republic truly was. A battlefield where no weapon was more valuable than ambition. Born into a family with land but little prestige, he grew up hearing the constant whispers of Rome's elite. Whispers that reminded him he would never rise high enough unless he learned to bend men, bend politics, and bend fate itself. Most generals of Rome were shaped by war. Strabo was shaped by something far more corrosive: opportunity in the absence of conscience. In his youth, he watched senators smiling at men they were plotting to assassinate. He watched allies turn to enemies over rumors. He watched the Republic, that proud institution, rot from the inside long before barbarians ever threatened it. He learned early that Rome rewarded one thing: results. Not honor, not fairness, not loyalty, only results. And Strabo decided that if Rome wouldn't reward morality, then he would not waste a single breath pretending to possess it. He would rise, no matter who had to fall. A war among brothers, not enemies. When the social war erupted in 91 BCE, Rome trembled, not because foreign invaders approached, but because its own allies, its own Italian brothers, finally demanded what Rome had denied them for centuries: citizenship, representation, dignity. These were men who bled in Roman battles, paid Roman taxes, built Roman roads. But despite every sacrifice, Rome still treated them as expendable tools rather than partners. The Allies' patience snapped. Cities that once marched beside Rome now raised arms against it. It was a war not of borders, but of betrayal, not of cultures, but of broken promises. And this was where Strabo saw his moment. A war between Rome and Rome's closest friends was not a tragedy to him. It was a chance. A rare, perfect, brutal chance to rise faster than any man of his generation. Where others saw civil collapse, he saw a ladder. Every dead ally was one less competitor. Every surrendered city was one more reason for the Senate to reward him. Every battlefield became a stage on which he could prove he was the man Rome needed, no matter the cost. But Strabo did not simply fight the allies, he dismantled them. He broke alliances that had stood for centuries. He fractured trust so deeply that Italy would never recover fully. He understood something frightening about human nature. A man will forgive defeat sooner than betrayal, and Strabo was a master of betrayal. The white flag that bled red, the most infamous moment of Strabo's rise, began with a gesture Rome considered sacred: a white flag. Across the ancient world, the white flag symbolized negotiation, truce, hope for peace. Even Rome, unrelentless, merciless Rome, held this sign as an unbreakable code. Strabo shattered it without hesitation. As the social war dragged on, several allied leaders approached Strabo seeking peace. They believed the general might negotiate fair terms, citizenship, autonomy, or at least protection from Rome's harsher commanders. Strabo agreed to meet. A large negotiation tent was prepared. White banners fluttered in the evening wind. The smell of olive oil lamps drifted across the camp. Guards stood posted but unarmed, a symbol of trust in sacred diplomatic tradition. The Allied leaders walked into the tent expecting conversation, compromise, maybe even reconciliation. What they received was an ambush. At the height of the talks, when leaders were seated, documents spread before them. Strabo gave a subtle gesture. Outside the tent, Roman soldiers tensed. Inside, the air shifted, as if the world itself sensed something unnatural was about to unfold. The soldiers stormed in. No warnings, no explanations, no mercy. Swords tore through fabric, flesh, and the illusion of peace in a single movement. Torches fell, igniting oil on the table. The screams of unarmed men filled the night, a massacre masquerading as diplomacy. Rome had betrayed many before, but never like this. Never under the white flag. Never in a ritual supposedly protected by the gods themselves. By dawn, the bodies of Rome's former allies lay piled at the foot of Strabo's camp, an offering he believed the Senate would appreciate. He was right. Fear as a foundation. News of the massacre spread faster than any legion could march. Cities surrendered at the mere mention of Strabo's name. Rebellions dissolved before they formed. Even Roman commanders kept their distance, uncertain whether Strabo would betray them next. He had discovered something powerful. Fear could conquer what legions could not, and fear became his signature. Strabo walked through Italy not as a hero, not as a liberator, but as a specter, a shadow that reminded cities what awaited those who defied Rome, or defied him. Rome rewarded him with political power, military authority, recognition he never would have gained through honor alone. But fear is a double-edged blade, and the hand that wields it eventually trembles. Paranoia, the silent battlefield. As Strabo rose, the walls around him became thinner. The air around him grew colder, the nights longer. A man who built his victories on betrayal began to see betrayal everywhere. Every guard could be an assassin. Every letter could carry poison. Every senator could be whispering plots behind closed doors. He slept lightly, rising at the slightest sound. He rotated his guards constantly, never trusting the same men for long. He inspected his camps with an obsession bordering on madness. He understood something profound and terrifying. When your success is built on treachery, you must assume everyone else learned from you. The paranoia consumed him, not because he feared death, but because he feared irrelevance. He knew Rome would remember courage, honor, sacrifice, but a man who rose through betrayal? Rome would rather forget him, and so he fought to remain visible, to stay feared, to force Rome to acknowledge the very monster it had allowed to grow. But fate had other plans. Fire falls from the sky. Strabo's death came without warning, not by blade, not by poison, not by political conspiracy. It came from the sky. One night, as storms gathered above the camp, a violent crack split the heavens. Lightning tore downward with impossible precision, striking Strabo's tent. The entire structure erupted into flames. Soldiers rushed forward, but the fire moved unnaturally fast, consuming everything inside. The heat forced them back. The screams from within were swallowed by the roar of the burning canvas. When the flames finally died, little remained. To the superstitious, it was a message from the gods, a punishment for a man who violated sacred oaths, a reminder that even Rome's most ambitious murderers could not escape divine judgment. To others, it was coincidence, a random strike on a stormy night. But to those who truly understood Strabo's life, his death felt like a symbolic echo of everything he embodied. Sudden, violent, unpredictable, consuming everything in its path. The general who built his power on fire and fear was taken by fire and fear. A legacy. The empire tried to forget. Strabo's funeral was unlike any other Roman general's. There were no grand processions, no glowing eulogies. As his body burned on the pyre, citizens hurled stones, curses, and insults, not out of personal hatred, but out of collective memory. Rome had used him, feared him, rewarded him, and when he was gone, Rome disposed of his legacy like a shameful secret. Many of his records vanished. Many of his accomplishments were credited to others. Many of his crimes were buried under political dust. Strabo became a ghost in history, not erased, but blurred, not forgotten, but deliberately ignored. And this silence is louder than any story Rome ever dared to tell. Epilogue. The truth beneath the empire. Rome's greatness was not built only by heroes. It was built by men like Strabo, men whose ambition outweighed their conscience, whose victories were measured in the blood of allies, whose rise required the destruction of trust itself. Strabo was not an anomaly. He was a mirror, a reflection of what Rome truly was beneath its marble surface. Cruel, unpredictable, hungry for dominance at any cost. And perhaps that is why Rome tried to bury his story. Not because it was too dark, but because it was too honest. In the end, Strabo's life serves as a reminder. Empires are not shaped by glory. They are shaped by the shadows they refuse to acknowledge. And in those shadows, Strabo's name still whispers.